This is the time that was noticed and posted for our work sessions, Tuesday, August the 27th, 2024. It's 1 o'clock p.m. We're in the Board of Supervisors hearing room pursuant to ARS 38-431.02H. The public will have physical access to the meeting place 15 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion. Begin with roll call. District 1.
Crosby is here.
District 2. Supervisor English is present. District 3.
Supervisor Judd is here.
We have a complete board. Members of the public may also attend this meeting by Microsoft Teams computer or mobile app or by phone by calling 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714. Conference ID 256-763-972 #. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. Work sessions are a time for county staff to inform and discuss agenda items with the Board of Supervisors, and public comments will not be taken. Introductions for work sessions are always before a person begins to speak. To keep the record straight, if you would introduce yourself at that point in time and the job that you are doing. So having said that, today we're talking about the Facilities Department and the informational update. So unless you have something you wanted to say, Rich?
Nope.
Okay, then I'll turn it over to James Crowley, our Facilities Director.
Okay, Daryl Crowley, Facilities Director. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's just get started. Facilities 23-24 project updates. We actually finished the HVAC system that has been under construction for over 2 years at the courthouse. 4th of July weekend. We got the very last electric panel. So it's up and running and having no issues. BDI well. We actually have had it online now for about 60 days. Oh, I'm sorry. I always forget that. But no, we've had like I said, that well has been up for 60 days. We had a few little problems in the very beginning. It kept wanting to silt in, but we pumped it, and it seems to be working just fine now. The BDI hangar, Dan Coxworth and I are still working on that. He's got some funding on that, so it's kind of more in his court now than it is in mine. Melody Lane signage. Matter of fact, they actually finished putting in the last sign that we had put in on the campus here. And we did a couple of signs out at the sheriff's admin. So that is 100% complete. Bisbee admin elevator. I don't know, it would have been 60 days ago, we rebuilt the entire hydraulic part of that elevator. Unfortunately, that elevator is so old, we cannot get parts for it, and they actually had to come in and completely re-engineer the hydraulic system on it. We are still waiting, though, on some of the electric components to complete that rebuild, but it is working 100% better than it was.
What is hydraulic on the elevator?
The car, it's all hydraulically operated. There's a big reservoir. The car goes up and down with an electric hydraulic pump. Okay.
No cables.
No cables. Good.
What would it cost to replace it, Daryl?
About $250,000. That is probably on the conservative side, because that to bring that thing into compliance today, that whole elevator shaft would have to be an entity all of its own, have its own heating and cooling. So it would be quite an undertaking to build that entire shaft.
But it runs smoothly. I just used it.
Yeah, no, it does. It works quite well. It's pretty strange. I was at a Banner Hospital and was in one of their elevators a couple of weeks ago, and our one over here is actually quieter and smoother than the one in the Banner Hospital.
I would expect all.
Wilcox Airport Terminal, that project should wrap up this week. Be 100% complete. They are in the very final stages of hanging some of the doors and finishing some of the trim. But it's real close.
There's no living facilities there,
No.
right?
Melody Lane Facilities Building, we've been hung up for a while with the city of Bisbee. They were thinking that we needed to rezone that. We finally got that part squared away. I think the only thing that we're holding out on at the moment is flooding. That's back in our engineering department, and they're assuring me that they've got that squared away as well. So There's actually guys that were out there today, and there'll be some more there tomorrow getting ready to start working. Douglas RSC external paint is complete. We finished it up in June. The building looks pretty good again. HVAC replacement plan, Melody Lane, Building E. We've been waiting on that unit. It should be here sometime middle of September. So as soon as it's here, we'll get it put on.
Which is building E.
The one on the very end, the one with the treasurer's on. Wilcox Regional Service Center. I am going to pull a PO this week. Finally have all the quotes and everything ready to get it going. So it'll probably be Christmas time, I would imagine, first of the year somewhere in there, and it'll be complete.
As spread out as that is, how many units you have to put on that building?
That building has 13. We just finished the Bisbee Jail last week. All new units on it. So, and we had some issues over the weekend, but they seem to have them all worked out. The last couple of days, it's been working quite well. Benson RSC, we completed it in July. Again, it had some issues. Some of the learning curve on some of this new equipment, not only for us, but for the installers, it's been quite a learning curve for everybody. But it is up and running, and I have not had any complaints recently.
What's the warranty on those?
It depends on the units, but most of the units have 10-year. And then some of the components like the condensers and some of that are down to like around 5 years a piece. FY 24-25 project plans, strategic plans. We are in the process now of quoting JP5 for paint and carpet. We're fixing to do the administrative department here come November, December. So we're getting ready to start quoting and chasing some of the numbers that we have to make that all happen. Our strategic HVAC plan. We've been attempting to try to get all of our HVAC systems under a management system so that we can pretty much operate them from where we're at. We're having some difficulties in doing that. Again, some of the new units that we just put on, one work with the new software. So again, there's a learning curve, and until we get this all updated and everything on the right controls, because we're basically running two different controls, just because the old stuff won't work on the new controls.
How are the new controls or the better controls operating with a cell phone? Or?
No, we could actually get software to get down to the cell phone, but most of the guys all have little notebooks, laptops that they're carrying around with them, so they can access the information that the information is generated. We are working, like I said, we're in the process of trying to get a energy assessment done for the whole county. And part of that is to incorporate all of the HVAC controls and systems into that assessment. That is still in the early stages. We just haven't pulled the trigger on who we're going to have do the assessment as of yet. Again, as we had said in a couple of the past work sessions, our HVAC has been subject to neglect over all the years, and we have, like I said, I think we now have about half of the ones that were over 20 years old upgraded. So a year and a half from now, we should have everything up to where it's all 15 years old or new. That's where the $1,047,000 comes from, is getting everything up to date. Roofing plan, we finished and recoated the Bowie Service Center. I guess it's really not a service center, it's at the court and the library. Yeah. But we got it recoated in the very first part of the summer, so that one is done. Foothills West roofing, which is schools, is fixing to be started here pretty quick. We've been waiting for the monsoon to kind of get over, so it's not quite as hazardous to be up on the roofs. Sheriff's admin evidence, we completed it already, but we need to get back to do the sheriff's admin. And light fleet is on the list. And again, part of these, we try to do them either early spring, early fall, into the fall, just because the temperature's trying to protect our guys, keep them off the roofs when it's 110 in the shade. And of course, we're dodging lightning this time of the year too, so. The projects in early planning stages, the county REKey hierarchy. I have met now with a couple of different companies, and I'm about chosen to go with Assa Abloy. They are the parent company to all the locks that we have now, so it won't be a drastic changeover once we get this process into play. But as well as that, we're going to have to develop some policies because the county does not really have any key policies as to how keys are handed out, how they're kept track of, and how they come back. So again, that's going to be a pretty good undertaking in itself because I'm already getting some pushback from staff, some of the different people that, well, that's not the way we've always done it. Well, I understand, but somewhere we have to draw a line and say we're taking control of this and this is what's going to happen. Energy assessment, as I was referring to earlier, we're looking at a couple of different companies. And now I think it's just now a matter of Joe and I need to sit down and put our heads together and decide which direction we're going to go.
Usually when you're looking at an energy assessment, some company has contacted us and said, we can save you money. If you change your light bulbs, or if you do this, or if you do that, and they come in and give us an energy assessment from their point of view. At least that's what I've seen in the past happen here.
And that's pretty much what it is. And fortunately, it's a big undertaking. I mean, it's nice to say, well, it's just changing light bulbs. But when you go to thinking about all the light bulbs that we have and to get them all over to LED, it's quite a deal. Plus, we have a bunch of lighting fixtures that can't be converted. So I have to go in there and completely take that whole fixture out and put a new one in. And that's where part of this in this energy assessment is they not only come in and tell us where we can save some money, what we can implement going forward to save some money. They are also helping us find some of the funding that we have to implement, because it's not just something that it's an easy or cheap process to go through. I think that what I was looking at.
Are there any energy rebates for these companies now? Because that was their.
And in some cases, if we were to add
energy rebates,
if we were to add some more solar, yes, some of those rebates come directly to the county and wouldn't go to anybody else. But there again, it's going to require putting in some new solar arrays for us to do.
Harold, what you had mentioned HVAC with regard to energy assessment, right? And then you mentioned lighting. What other would be a big?
Well, we have lighting, we have the HVAC, we have some water, and again, some power generating systems if we were to go that route, go into solar. So I think what's some of the other boilers? What's that? The boilers? Yeah, the boilers. Which for the most part we're down to 2 boilers. We have one at the admin building and one at the Douglas Service Center. That's the only boilers that we have. So we're slowly but surely deleting those and bringing those into upgrade.
Are those just for hot water, or do they?
No, they heat too. Boilers and chillers, and they're unfortunately they're a little bit. They take a lot of maintenance just because of the water that's constantly moving through them. We have to chemically treat it so it doesn't grow algae and become nasty. And it is like I say, a little bit of a process. So. But unfortunately, we only have 2 of them that are still with boilers and chillers. I guess that's for the most part, that's all the big projects we have in front of us.
Or boilers and chillers so obsolete that
No. You can there's a lot of new buildings being built with them, but they are a much different version of what we have, just because today's systems are much better enclosed, much better encapsulated. It just again, like I said, we're fixing to. I have working on a PO right now to put in about $12,000 worth of new work in the boilers at the Douglas Service Center now. So the exhaust piping all come apart, making a mess.
What's the heating source, natural gas?
Yes.
That concludes my question.
All right, cool. Anybody else?
No, just a comment. I think that it's, from my perspective, for the benefit of the public, whether they recognize it or not, I think it's very important that we keep our facilities up as much as possible. Keep them looking nice. Keep them as a place when people walk into them, they're not afraid to check the bathroom or to do anything. And I think that we're doing that. So I just want to compliment the facility staff for recognizing the importance of the ambiance of a room where business is taking place. And I think it's important to us getting successful programs and policies when we're operating out of a place where people can feel good about being there. So thank you.
I did want to mention the flooding on the front porch. And I don't know if you've addressed that or if there's a way to address it, but
We're looking into it, and again, part of this is we're waiting until after the monsoon. I don't want to have a big mess out here while we're trying to fix it, but part of it is,
flood.
when they opened this parking lot up from Melody Lane, from up by the health department coming down this way,
Mhm.
it ended up turning all the water, and all the water now comes down here and then runs across the front of the building, and some of it is turning and coming back. So we're going to attempt to grab a hold of it up there before it starts, and then take it down under the street and across the
Mhm.
street and get it out there into the pasture so it doesn't end up.
I know it's a big deal because I came in one morning and they were mopping everything
yeah.
up and fixing everything, but I was just wondering what you were doing with it.
So that's where we're at. I just say, unfortunately, when they put a drain in there, they didn't put a large enough drain in. There's just
Yeah.
way more water that shows up here than what anybody ever calculated.
That's Arizona.
Yep.
I'd been away from my home for a few days during 2 big rainstorms, and there was 3 inches of rain in my rain gauges. And if I didn't have 2 rain gauges right next to each other, I might not have believed it. Might have thought it was a prank. But there were 3 inches in just like a day and a half.
I think they were in here doing Zumba one night a couple of weeks ago when that last big water, and that was, they called and said, "Oh, we got water in the lobby."
Yeah.
And part of it was just more water than that drain could handle.
Mhm.
How far is it something that's actually downhill from here?
Well, it's clear out over here. This drain comes out from here and it doesn't come out in daylight and gets over here into this parking lot,
It's like
on the side.
a couple hundred.
Yes, it's probably 150 yards. It's pretty good ways. So we're instead of digging it up and making it larger, we're gonna just add to it just so we don't have to tear up all the trees and.
Well, we have a floodplain engineer
Yeah.
and we have highways.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'll be coordinated, I'm sure. Is there any other places where you're having flooding?
Well, we have
leaks
some flooding issue over there between E and F. And again,
or-
like I say, I don't know if you guys were familiar. Well, some of you were, because I know you guys were coming in the back door. But if you remember, in the early spring, we dug this up out here and plumbed it all in, and we have not had any flooding issues back there since. So, and that's what we're going to do up there between E and F.
It only took what, 15 years?
Give or take. But those are the only 2 major ones that we have that are here. And we have some issue over in Benson. And again, engineering, when they built those buildings, they built them on the ground just so that they didn't have a lot of steps and flat concrete for ADA requirements, but it's not very conducive to water running away. So, yeah, it does cause a bit of a problem.
I have to admit, I think that building in Vincent is the ugliest public building I have ever run into.
Well, we didn't build it, so
I'm just saying,
Right.
you look at that and you go, oh, no, that's
not our building.
It's not ours.
And from the maintenance side, we have some issues with it, just because it is the type of building that it is and the way it was constructed, and of course the train going by and the ground shakes all the time. We can't keep the windows sealed up because everything's.
and they have those
constantly-
huge windows.
Yes,
Yeah.
everything's constantly
I was gonna
moving.
ask you about
So
the windows.
it is a maintenance.
I don't know how to fix any of that.
No,
Neither do you.
I don't know that you're going to. It's
Gonna
just-
keep maintaining
yeah,
it.
all you can.
Any other comments or questions?
Well, I was just gonna say that I'm glad that the jail
HVAC installation. That's a big feat in and of itself when you have a big population that you can't say, just go home today and
Yeah.
show up on
Tomorrow.
Monday. Yeah. And you have people that are inside during, great job of getting that.
So the sheriff's department and my bunch, we had quite a few meetings and prior to it starting just to make sure that we were trying to foresee any issues that might arise but again, our contractor did an excellent job of coming in. Believe it or not, they pulled all the old ones off and put all the new ones on the roof. Of course, they weren't all running, but they did that all in one day. So that in itself.
Did you keep all the thank you notes that they sent us in your office? Because I haven't seen them.
Yeah, no, I got 'em.
From the inmates?
No, from the sheriff's department.
Yeah, I got them all.
Okay.
I'll show
Tell them we appreciate this. Thank you. Well, you get so used to them coming with their hands out, but they never come back to say, oh, by the way, that was really nice of you to. Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't want to be in that jail and have a whole bunch of inmates mad because it's so hot. They had an issue in Tucson here just recently where they never publicized it, but they had quite a lockdown in Tucson because the power went out and they lost all the AC and the inmates went to rioting.
Their mommies called. That's what happens in correction.
Oh, sure.
It's the mothers at home that are calling the TV stations and
I've heard that from down there at DOC at BDI. The same thing when we were having issues with water.
Oh, yeah, it was
Sometimes
amazing.
the governor here would hear about it before we did.
Right,
Just because
right.
the way that the chain works.
As long as they have access to a phone, that's all they got to do, you know. Anyway, if there's nothing else, then we always appreciate this. Every 3 months, before. Three. If there's nothing else, then this work session is adjourned, and our next meeting is at 2:00 in the Board of Supervisors hearing room for a work session regarding the status of Miracle Valley Bible College.